legally filed to run for Congress, and I do intend to take this role very seriously. I understand to many of you this may come as a surprise.
It means that it cuts off Gonzalez from the Texas GOP until May 28th, until next year, the date of the primary runoff.
No more incumbent politicians who vote time and time again against the interests of the American people without fear of losing their positions.
But I'm very optimistic on the framework of which the Senate has put together.
Yes, but we shouldn't be talking about this. We should be talking about
one of the parts of the framework as well that makes sense to me. Let's identify these children that have issues.
Second Amendment community's impact. The Second Amendment community made a significant impact during the recent Super Tuesday elections, particularly in Texas's Congressional District number 23, where candidate Brandon Herrera, a staunch supporter of Second Amendment rights, challenged the incumbent Tony Gonzalez. Gonzalez, perceived by many as a Republican in name only, Rhino, faced criticisms for his support of the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which some view as backdoor arm control legislation. Additionally, his failure to address border security concerns and reluctance to change federal arm control measures garnered dissatisfaction among constituents. Despite initial skepticism from Gonzalez's camp, the Second Amendment community rallied behind Herrera, recognizing him as a candidate committing to defending their constitutional rights. Social media platforms such as YouTube and Twitter played a pivotal role in mobilizing support for Herrera, highlighting his stance on Second Amendment issues and contrasting it with Gonzalez's record. The primary election results reflected the influence of the Second Amendment community, with Gonzalez failing to secure the minimum 50% of the vote required for outright victory. This outcome necessitated a runoff between Gonzalez and Herrera, providing Herrera with a renewed opportunity to challenge the incumbent and secure the Republican nomination. The runoff presents a critical juncture for supporters of Second Amendment rights, both within and outside Texas's 23rd Congressional District.
I announced I am going to be running for Congress. Specifically, I will be challenging the establishment Republican Tony Gonzalez.
One of the parts of the framework as well that makes sense to me. Let's identify these children that have issues.
Legally filed to run for Congress, and I do intend to take this role very seriously. I understand to many of you this may come as a surprise.
And the congressman was very nonchalant about the censure, making it clear that it didn't bother him and it wasn't going to stop him from going to work.
For residents of the district, voting for Herrera signifies a commitment to upholding constitutional freedoms and rejecting political complacency. However, the impact extends beyond district boundaries, as individuals across the country can contribute to Herrera's campaign through various means, including spreading awareness and making donations. Gonzalez's reliance on traditional sources of campaign funding underscores the importance of grassroots support for Herrera. Contributions from individuals, irrespective of their geographic location, can level the playing field and provide Herrera with the resources necessary to compete effectively against an entrenched incumbent. The runoff election, scheduled for May 28th, offers an opportunity for voters to send a clear message about the importance of Second Amendment rights and the need for principled representation in Congress. Herrera's candidacy symbolizes a departure from politics as usual, emphasizing grassroots engagement and prioritizing constituents' concerns over partisan interests. Supporting Herrera's campaign is not just about winning a single election. It is about reaffirming the values of individual liberty and constitutional governance. By rallying behind Herrera, supporters of the Second Amendment can demonstrate their collective strength and influence in shaping electoral outcomes. The Second Amendment community's involvement in the Super Tuesday elections, particularly in Texas's Congressional District number 23, underscores the significance of grassroots activism in shaping political discourse and electoral outcomes. The runoff election presents an opportunity for supporters of Second Amendment rights to make their voices heard an advocate for principled representation in Congress. Brandon Herrera's candidacy embodies the spirit of grassroots engagement and serves as a testament to the power of individuals united by a common cause. Texas's 23rd Congressional District runoff. In Texas's 23rd Congressional District, Republican incumbent Representative Tony Gonzalez faces a runoff against Second Amendment activist Brandon Herrera after failing to secure a majority in the primary election. The runoff underscores a stark contrast between the candidates on key issues such as arm laws, immigration, and asylum policies. Gonzalez, aligning with the Republican establishment, has supported measures like the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which some in the Second Amendment community view as backdoor arm control. Additionally, Gonzalez opposes extreme risk protection order laws, commonly known as red flag laws, citing concerns about due process and Second Amendment rights.
Yes, but we shouldn't be talking about this. We should be talking about...
But much more than that, I think I have a deep love for the values that this country was founded on. The ideas of freedom, of self-governance.
It means that it cuts off Gonzalez from the Texas GOP until May 28th, until next year, the date of the primary runoff.
The freedom to choose your own destiny and build a life for you and your family. Sadly, those ideals are under attack.
The issue of extreme risk protection order laws highlights the divergent views of the candidates. Gonzalez expresses reservations about such laws, citing concerns about due process and constitutional rights. In contrast, Herrera's support base vehemently opposes red flag laws, viewing them as an infringement on Second Amendment rights and a potential threat to civil liberties. The outcome of the runoff election will have significant implications for Texas's 23rd Congressional District and beyond. Voters must weigh the candidates' positions on arm rights, immigration, and other critical issues before casting their ballots. The contest represents a broader ideological struggle within the Republican Party, with Gonzalez representing the establishment wing and Herrera championing the cause of grassroots Second Amendment activists. Ultimately, the runoff election will determine the direction of representation in Texas's 23rd Congressional District, shaping policies on arm laws, immigration, and other key issues. Voters must carefully consider the candidates' platforms and make an informed decision that aligns with their values and priorities. Texas congressional primary runoffs. Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez of San Antonio faced a tough challenge in the recent primary elections, failing to secure his party's nomination outright and heading for a runoff against Brandon Herrera, a prominent armed rights advocate and social media influencer. This contest garnered significant attention as it unfolded amidst a backdrop of growing tension within the Republican Party of Texas, particularly concerning Gonzalez's moderate stance on certain issues. Gonzalez's political predicament emerged following his divergence from the GOP on several votes, leading to his censure by the state party. This intra-party friction underscored deeper ideological divides within the Republican ranks, with Gonzalez's opponents seizing on his perceived lack of conservative credentials as a central campaign theme. Meanwhile, the retirement of longtime incumbents in two North Texas congressional districts further intensified the primary spotlight. Importantly, the outcomes of these primary races are likely to determine the future trajectory of their respective congressional districts. Both the 12th and the 26th district have historically favored Republican candidates, with the redrawn boundaries further solidifying GOP dominance. Notably, Gonzalez's current district, the 23rd Congressional District, has undergone redistricting to bolster Republican advantages, reflecting broader trends in Texas politics. The looming primary runoffs in May will provide a decisive moment for candidates seeking to secure their party's nomination and ultimately assume office. For Gonzalez and his challengers, including Herrera, the runoff represents a critical juncture in their quest to represent the 23rd District. Despite Gonzalez's formidable fundraising advantage, fueled by a substantial war chest, Herrera's grassroots support, and vocal advocacy for armed rights have galvanized significant backing. Moreover, Gonzalez's political vulnerability stems not only from his policy positions, but also from broader shifts in district demographics and voter sentiment. The district's historical inclination towards moderate representation, epitomized by former Congressman Will Hurd, suggests a receptivity to candidates who navigate centrist positions on key issues.
Voted time and time again against the constitutionally guaranteed rights of their constituents. This has to change.
The day I will roll up my sleeves every single day, and anybody who wishes to challenge me, it's a fool's errand.
But I'm very optimistic on the framework of which the Senate has put together.
We know more incumbent politicians who vote time and time again against the interests of the American people without fear of losing their positions.
Looking ahead, the Texas Republican Party faces the challenge of reconciling internal divisions while presenting a united front in the general election. The outcomes of the primary runoffs will not only shape the composition of Texas' congressional delegation, but also influence the party's trajectory in the years to come. Overall, the recent primary elections in Texas have underscored the evolving dynamics within the Republican Party and highlighted the competitive nature of congressional races across the state. As candidates gear up for the upcoming runoffs, the stakes remain high, with the outcomes poised to shape the future of Texas politics and governance. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.